Number two, the TaftHartley Law that was passed in July of 1947 prohibited labor unions from taking any money from their treasuries and spending it in any type of a federal election. So this meant that we had to have two separate funds to operate in the labor movement. We would have to have a fund as far as our federal political program was concerned, and we would have to have another fund for our general welfare. What are the functions of C.O.P.E? What do we do? Number one, we are a nonpartisan organization. We are not affiliated with the Democratic Party, neither are we affiliated with the Republican Party. We have a voting record that is printed and kept up to date. It is a record of each congressman, both the representatives and the senators in the United States. We keep a record on how they vote on every major issue in the nation. This is not necessarily issues that affect labor. We keep a record on the issues that affect farmers. We keep a record of the issues that affect us on our social life and foreign affairs and just any type of legislation that affects American citizen in general. What do our people do as we set up our C.O.P.E organizations? Number one, it is our desire to see that every member of organized labor and their families are qualified to vote. We want to create the desire in the hearts of our members to register and to vote. We want them to realize that the whole national economy may hinge upon their one vote or the one vote of their wife or their mother or their sister. This is the thing that we're striving to do. We feel that the weakness of this nation is that too few people are dictating the policies of it. We feel that it is healthy for the masses to speak up. We feel that once people represent the masses of this nation, that we are all in for a better way of life. We also have, in conjunction with our registration program, an educational program. We want every member of organized labor and their families to know the background of the labor movement. We don't want them to go around feeling ashamed of the fact that they carry a union card. We want them to know the fine tradition that the labor movement has always upheld. We want them to know that at the very beginning, that at the time when this country first formed its policies, when they first set up a constitution to guide us, they set the precedent that we should live under for always as far as the peoples in the United States were concerned, that it all began in a carpenter's hall in Philadelphia in the year 1774. We want them to know that Patrick Henry made his famous speech in the carpenter's hall when the First Continental Congress assembled on September the 5th, 1774. We want our members to know that the statement was made there by Patrick Henry. The distinctions between Virginians, Pennsylvanians, New Yorkers, and New Englanders are no more. I'm not a Virginian, but an American. We want them to know that the first bank in America was formed and began in the Carpenter's Hall in Philadelphia. We want them to know that the first customs house in the nation was set up in the Carpenter's Hall. We want them to feel a deep sense of pride in the labor movement, rather than to believe the propaganda that they see and hear all the time about us that is bad. We realize that we have people that are weak in our organization, but we also realize the majority of our people are strong, and they're clean and they're decent. You could never get together in one household, 16 million people, and have them all perfect. We're subject to doing things that are wrong. We're subject to making mistakes, as all people make. But we also are doing the very best that we can to give a better way of life, not only to our membership, but to all people in this country. And that's where our farm programs come in. That's why our women are brought into the program. And that's why that we're going all out today to take the truth to the people. The reason that we have women in our organizations today as we have them, the reason that we're making a plea for every trade unionist to get his wife to come in and work in our program, is that we want a C.O.P.E office in every central body in the nation. We want it manned on a voluntary participation basis because we're poor. We do not have the money to pay people to do this work, and neither do our men have the time to do it on a voluntary basis after they work to make a living. So we're making a plea to the families to come in and to assist us. We want them to check the registration cards of our people. We want them to find out how many of our members are registered to vote and how many of their families are registered to vote. And we want them to carry forth our political program. When our political organization was first established, the doors were not open to the wives and the families. It was only open to our own membership. But we realized soon after the establishment of the first political organizations in the labor movement that with women controlling the national potential vote by approximately 52%, that you were going to have the wives educated. You were going to have them realize what they owed to the labor movement and what they owed to society in general. So we have brought them in to actively participate. The reason that we are interested in the farm problems is because that we realize that the prosperity of the labor movement is contingent upon the prosperity of the farmers. We want to break down the anti-labor feelings that are being built up within the hearts of the farmers. We want to break down the anti-farmers subsidy program feeling that has been built up within the hearts of our trade union members and their families. Every time our wives go in to buy merchandise in the areas where we have anti-labor propagandists, they're told it's the farmers' subsidy program is the reason that you're paying so much for this item. You see, they're moochers on the government, and you're having to pay for this. At the same time, there are high government officials that go throughout the nation telling the farmers that the reason they're in the plight that they're in today is because of the high cost of labor. Today, I stand before you and say that this is a fallacy. Naturally, there are people that want to pit you against labor as the farmers, and they want to pit labor against the farmers because they gain by it. As long as they can keep us divided, they can keep on destroying our way of life. They can keep on fooling us. But you know, we're beginning to hire people in our organizations today that have a better opportunity than we have to know what is right and what is wrong as far as the field of economy is concerned. And as we have gained in our economic standards of living, we've been able to educate our families so that they could go on to college, and they come out in position to help analyze the things that are in existence today. We're beginning to learn, and we're beginning to not like the things that we find out through our knowledge. Because, you know, they can stand and tell us that it's the cost of labor that makes a car so high. And perhaps we'd buy that if we didn't know that General Motors paid $95 million in bonuses to their executives, and that they paid their president in the year of 1955 $575,000 bonus. And that topped a salary of $201,400 salary. Think of it. We could have taken the bonuses that they paid to their executives that were already some of the highest paid people in the land, and they could have cut the price of cars $30 per car for the consumer. Just think what that would have meant. Yet they stand and tell us it's the cost of labor that makes it so high. You see, these are the things that we're going to have to analyze, and these are the answers that we're going to have to find. We're going to have to be truthful with ourselves. We're going to have to be truthful with our membership. And at the same time, we're going to have to be ever vigilant to see that nothing is done to us that we can keep from being done. What is a subsidy for a farmer? I think our trade unionists should think this over. What is subsidy? It's merely a guaranteed annual wage. It's just a promise that he works all year, and at the end of that year he's going to be guaranteed that he's going to draw something in return for his efforts. How could a nation stand high in the field of economy without one of the greatest groups that make the nation protected through some type of a guaranteed annual wage? We negotiate our contracts, and I don't think we have a trade unionist in the land that if he knew that he was endangered of not being paid at the end of the week or at the end of the month for his services, that he would keep on working. You've got to be assured that you're going to be paid for your services. So until a better way is found to protect the farmer, there's only one recourse for them, and that is to stand by the subsidy program. And there's only one thing left for the labor movement to do, and that is to fight with every bit of energy that they have and with every bit of political strength that they have to see that you are guaranteed a way of life. You're entitled to your fair share of this economy, and we're entitled to ours. Did you ever stop to think of what our people do in the labor movement? The cost of living is so high. A man goes out and he works to make a living, and he has a bare existence. He only can pay his rent. He can only buy a moderate priced car. He can only struggle along. It takes the wife working to supplement the income, to give them any type of a luxury. It takes every member of the family that becomes old enough to sell newspapers and then going on up to stockroom boys in businesses and so on and so forth. Every member in the family has to work to make a living. And at the same time, look at the other side of the fence. Look at the farmer. To eke out a bare existence, he has to get up early in the morning. He works all day. Every hour that every child is available, they have to get in there and work with him. And the wife goes out and mans a tractor, and you know what I'm saying is the truth, to make the living that people are envious of you for. One group is not any better off than the other. I want you to understand that. And I don't want the farmer to ever go home feeling that they are a moocher. Because I think that when people realize the truth about subsidies, that they will be glad that you're getting your share. Look at all of the industries that are existing today on subsidies that you never hear anything about. Look at the airlines. Look at the trains. Look at banks. Look at all contractors that are guaranteed their cost plus. Newspapers and magazines get many times the subsidy of the farmers, yet you never hear any of these groups being attacked. It's constantly the people that they think are the weakest, the people that they think that they can mislead, that they attack. So they work for a period of time upon the welfare of the labor movement, and then when they get tired of that, the next political football becomes the agricultural problem. I hope that with our big membership combined, and as we fight to enlighten our people, fight to keep our people feeling that we are doing things that are wrong when down in our hearts we know that we are right. I hope as we make these progresses through life that everything will work out. I hope that our problems will become less. You know, we hear so much about prosperity. We hear so much about it, and yet we find small businesses closing their doors every day. We find only last week the papers fill with the fact that there would be no tax reduction for small businesses. There's nothing set up to protect them. And we find quite frequently through the propaganda that they've been told and fed that small businesses are against the things that we're fighting for. Today, I say that part of the plight of small businesses in states such as South Dakota comes direct from the right-to-work laws. Part of the difficulty that is facing the farmer today is coming direct from right-to-work laws. And you might say, why? Because right-to-work laws prohibit strong unions in an area, therefore the cost won't be so great. Maybe the cost isn't so great and the purchasing power isn't so great either. Did you ever stop to think that to have something on your shelf and not be able to sell it is about the worst thing that could happen to business? Did you ever stop to think that regardless of how cheap things are, if you don't have the price to purchase it, that it doesn't help? The only salvation that we have is to increase the purchasing power in this nation. I was amazed when I checked and found out that the average per capita earnings in the state of South Dakota that's governed by right-to-work legislation was $1,245, when the national average per capita earnings is $1,847. You can see how labor is being exploited here. You can see how the farmer is being exploited, and you can see how the small businessman is being exploited. Did you know that there are 17 million in this nation receiving free food from the government today, in some form or another? The Agricultural Department has released these figures so we know that they're accurate. In the height of the Depression, there were only 13 million people in this nation receiving federal food, free food. Analyze this in the day of prosperity. It's a day of prosperity for some people, and it's a day of poverty for others. And the Agriculture Department has released the figures that it is on the increase. There are more and more people needing free food in a country that is considered one of the richest countries in the world. Think of the people that are having to be fed on a free basis, that can't purchase all the food that they want to consume and can't give their children an opportunity in life. And yet we have surpluses. The farmer is in a desperate condition at this point in our government. And yet we have people going to bed by the millions in this country that are hungry every night, that can't get enough to eat. 12 million school children are on the lunch program, that are gaining benefits from the lunch program. There are many of these children perhaps that their families could purchase the food, but there are millions of them that the only real meal they get a day is that free lunch that they get at school. And what is causing that? The one thing that has created that is the one thing that the American Federation of Labor and the Congress of Industrial Organizations is fighting for this year. And that is a minimum wage law that will cover another 9.5 million people. There are millions of people that make less than $40 a week. There are 3 million people in this nation that make less than $1,000 a year. Imagine having to live in a slum district. Imagine having to pay rent. Imagine having to feed a large family on less than $1,000 a year. You check your juvenile delinquency program throughout the nation. See how it's on the upswing. Why are children getting into trouble? Why are they doing the things they're doing today? Because they're not properly fed, they're not properly clothed, they're given no opportunity whatsoever in life. Because many of them are children of parents that are making such a low income per year that they can give them nothing. You know, the penal institutions are filling up. There's more crime. There are more people that are getting into the penal institutions by either mental defections or through crime and a number of other ways. It's the stress and the pressure that's upon people that's causing so many people to have to be put into the homes of the feeble-mindedness. Did you ever stop to think of that? There's nothing that hurts you more than to see your family in want. There's nothing that can put you farther down to do something like stealing, to try to hijack, to try to rob. You know, when those people are put in an institution, who pays the bill? You and I pay to keep those institutions going. Wouldn't you much rather see the money being used in a minimum wage program? Wouldn't you much rather see every person guaranteed enough money that they could purchase enough food to feed their families? That they would be able to pay rent in a decent locality? Just think of the turnover it would be and how it would help this country today. The fight in Congress this year will not be for $1.25 an hour, but it will be an increase in the numbers of people that are guaranteed a $40 a week income and time and a half for all over 40 hours. I hope that you will join with us in our fight for it. I hope that you will see the need, because there's not a group in this nation that would profit more than labor or the farmer by the passage of this bill. It wouldn't help labor as far as their membership is concerned, because the majority of our membership makes more than $1 an hour. But it would mean this: it would make more people in this nation in position to buy the things that we make. And it would make more people in position to buy the products that you produce. So this is an important item, not only to labor, but to farmers as well. I hope that you will sense the need for it, and that you will make this one of your prime targets in your program for the coming year, to try to see that your congressmen and your senators vote in behalf of an issue that's so important to all of us. I'm not going to talk much longer because we have panels. There's many things that will come out in these panels. There's many things that will be of benefit to both the farm program and to the labor program. I just want to stress with you again today that we have much to be thankful for. We have much to be grateful for. And of the one thing that I think that we can be most grateful for is our Social Security program. I would like to see so much done about publicizing the Social Security program. I would like to see every person in the nation realize what it means to them, because in the long run, it's going to eliminate these free homes for people. It's going to make citizens that grow old and can no longer work independent. It's going to give them an opportunity to look at life with a different perspective. It's going to give them the chance to be human beings. It used to be true that a person that worked all their life could never make enough money to save any, and when they retired, they only had one thing to look forward to, and that was an old folks' home. Today, through our joint efforts, through our fight to secure a Social Security program that would give you at least an existence in your old age, you no longer have to fear the things that you've feared in the past. And I, for one, am thankful for it. And every year as Congress reconvenes, I want to warn you of one thing. There are people that try to eliminate the Social Security program. There are people that try to do away with it. And you must every year watch it. Every year be careful that nothing happens that will destroy a program that means so much to our way of life. I hope that maybe through my rambling here today that I have proven to you that we have a mutual problem, that ours is not one that either group can go their way alone and remain intact and remain prosperous. And I hope that we go on working together to serve not only labor and farmers, but our fellow man, and through our joint unselfish efforts, we can also continue to build a stronger America and give so many people that are on the verge of losing faith in God renewed hope. I thank you.